Now at 9, we have a winter weather advisory for portions of the four-state area. I'm going to break this down.
Doug, thank you. Plus, as temperatures drop, Joplin homeless shelters are more full than usual. Going to look at how they're handling this increase in capacity.
The U.S. Attorney General with an update on the investigation into last year's January 6th Capitol attack. I'm Mather Rivera with more on that, plus what else is being done to mark the one-year anniversary tomorrow, coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Jordan Abby. Cold temperatures going to continue falling across in four states tonight. Go straight to Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy. Doug?
Yeah, it's going to be a cold one out there for us tonight. Temperatures are going to drop back into the mid-teens, but it's going to be a little bit windy as well. So we're going to have wind chill factors about 0 to -5 by the morning hours. And we're going to get a little bit of snow, not a lot, but a little bit of snow. So that's why we have winter weather advisories in effect for our northern counties, as we're starting to get a few little snow flurries, which are trying to pop up. But really our little band of light snow still back out across northwestern Kansas, which is going to start to roll in a little bit later on tonight. Some light little snow showers, especially after midnight. So we're going to break down this event and what's coming up here in just a bit.
Thanks again, Doug. As temperatures drop, there's concern for the area's homeless population and capacity at local shelters. KOA's Bracey tells us what shelters are seeing and how many people are now seeking shelter and how that is affecting their capacity.
That propane, open flames inside small tents, which is dangerous in itself, but is that or death, for a lot of people.
Tommy Harris has been homeless in Joplin for about 4 years and explains how difficult it is for those experiencing homelessness in the cold weather.
You just do what you have to do every day,
Local shelters like Souls Harbor and Watered Gardens have become even more full as people seek shelter from the winter weather, but tell us they are still able to house people.
We are seeing a few more people needing to come in than we usually do.
Diana Gurley, executive director at Souls Harbor, says due to more people needing shelter, their regular housing units are full, leaving them to open up their overflow shelter.
And we also have a special place open where we take in more than what is in our house. So I think some confusion comes in where they hear, oh, the house is full, and the house indeed is full. However, with the overflow, we're a little more, we're not so limited in how many we can take in.
At Watered Gardens, it's a similar story.
But more times than not, our shelter gets full. Of course, people are definitely wanting to get out of the cold and off the streets. But beyond that, because when the temperatures do drop, for us below 20, or when the wind chill gets below 20, we do open up a warming center, and that's really open to everyone to come when those temperatures are that low.
At Watered Gardens, they say the requirements change when the weather drops.
Our front doors here at the Outreach Center are just open, and you can come into this front section and get warm.
Both say they will be open during the current winter weather for anyone in need of shelter. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Both Souls Harbor and Watered Gardens say their overnight shelters are going to be open tonight because of cold temperatures meeting their requirements. Nearly 6 years after a Miami, Oklahoma man stabbed an elderly man and doused him with bleach, he learns his sentence. A judge sentenced Brian Waterman to 36 years in prison for attempted murder, aggravated kidnapping. Back in 2016, Waterman broke into a Baxter Springs, Kansas home, repeatedly stabbed the resident, 78-year-old Bob Hopkins, then poured bleach on him. Hopkins survived the attack. Jurors convicted Waterman this past November. U.S. Marshals capture a Grove, Oklahoma woman who's considered a most wanted suspect. Authorities this morning arrested Heather Griffith near Grove. Griffith was wanted for violating her probation after pleading guilty to stabbing a woman at a hotel in Grove in November. Freeman Health System is looking to fill several positions. The company hosted an open house and hiring fair at Pitt State's Bicknell Family Center for the Arts today. Officials say they are looking for full and part-time positions, both clinical and non-clinical. Freeman says this entry-level positions start at $15 per hour. However, while we were there, very few candidates showed up to today's event. But that's far from unique to the hospital system. Thousands of businesses are struggling to hire employees, and a record 4.5 million people left their jobs in November. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Pfizer's COVID-19 booster should soon be available to younger children. This as confusion builds over new CDC recommendations. Fox News correspondent Jonathan Seary has more.
More children could soon line up for their COVID booster shots. CDC vaccine advisors are poised to recommend Pfizer's booster for children ages 12 through 15. Earlier this week, the FDA authorized the third shot for that age group.
If you're eligible for a booster shot, you're highly protected.
The decision comes as the Omicron variant fuels a surge of new cases nationwide. The CDC says the 7-day average of new infections is up 98% from the week prior. Dr. Anthony Fauci adds, while Omicron causes less severe disease, now is not the time to be complacent.
Maybe a reduced severity, but could still stress our hospital system because a certain proportion of a large volume of cases, no matter what, are going to be severe.
Meanwhile, there's confusion over new CDC recommendations. The agency acknowledges the best approach for asymptomatic COVID patients includes seeking out an at-home COVID test before ending isolation. If the test is positive, people should isolate until day 10. However, the CDC stopped short of requiring the test. Some medical experts say that leaves a gap where those who do not test themselves after 5 days could end isolation and still be positive.
Make a recommendation, and the recommendation should be that after 5 days, if you are going to be in a high-risk situation, you should take a test before you leave the home.
The CDC still recommends people wear masks in public for 5 days after isolating. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
COVID cases are heating up in the Windy City, leading to an intense battle over a return to virtual learning for public schools. Chicago public schools are going to be closed. And classes were canceled today after the teachers union voted for a return to remote learning. And the vote comes as educators express their concerns over lack of support and health precautions during this highly transmissible Omicron wave of cases. The Chicago Teachers Union voted to implement remote learning until a list of demands are met. This includes regular testing and KN95 masks being provided. Chicago Public Schools and Mayor Lori Lightfoot argue virtual classes put students at a disadvantage. Capitol Police Chief says his agency is better prepared today than it was this time 1 year ago. His remarks come as the country gets ready to mark the 1-year anniversary since the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. This is the Attorney General. Also gave an update on the criminal investigation into the riot. Fox's Madeline Rivera is in D.C. with the latest details.
1 year after a violent mob stormed the Capitol, the Justice Department shows no signs of slowing down its investigation into the attack. More than 700 people have been arrested by federal prosecutors so far.
The actions we have taken thus far will not be our last. We will follow the facts wherever they lead.
The work continues among Capitol Police, too. During a hearing before a Senate committee Wednesday, the chief says they've made several improvements with security, especially when it comes to officer training and how intelligence is shared.
There's been a lot of changes, but the big thing is how we use intelligence.
While there is bipartisan support in Congress to provide more resources to the department, some are doubtful the agency has made meaningful changes.
There's zero accountability for why the Capitol was so unprotected that day. The reforms to date have been largely window dressing.
Meanwhile, the January 6th committee is stepping up its probe into the riot. Former White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham is meeting with a panel, which has also called on former Vice President Mike Pence to speak as the president prepares his remarks, slamming former President Trump for his role in inciting the insurrection.
He sees January 6th as a tragic culmination of what those 4 years under President Trump did to our country.
Attorney General Merrick Garland says the Justice Department will do everything it can to protect Americans' voting rights, calling it the cornerstone of democracy. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
KOM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time now to honor another four-state hero. Claude Lancaster served in the U.S. Army from 1941 to 1952. Native of Southwest City, Missouri, Lancaster was stationed in Korea and parts of Europe, earning several awards. We are proud to thank and salute Sergeant First Class Claude Lancaster. He's tonight's four-state hero. Doug Katie's next with a complete look at the forecast. And a bit later, a pair of Pittsburgh High School seniors signing to continue their football careers together in college. You know those details in sports.
Well, it turned out to be another chilly day for us today. Temperatures struggling to warm up all day long, only into the mid-30s. We're actually going to get colder over the next 24 hours. We have a winter weather advisory in effect. This is our northern county. So we're talking Yates Center, Iola, Chanute, Fort Scott, Nevada, over towards Stockton Lake. We're going to get some snow farther south than that, but amounts are going to be a little bit lower. But where you do see the counties that are highlighted in purple, we're talking 1, maybe upwards to 2 inches of very dry snow. And you can see some light snow starting to pick up. Most of this is not even reaching the ground, but we're probably seeing a few flurries in our northern counties, and this will slowly increase as we go through the overnight hours. But most of us dry right now, just a few random flurries in our northern counties, but some light snow will start to pick up. Once this batch kind of shifts in over us, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, probably 4 to about 6 a.m. will be our best shot to get some light snow across the region. Plus it's cold, kind of windy, temperatures from lower 20s to upper 20s in our southern counties, but everybody pretty cold. 7th and range line currently outside sitting at 25, northerly winds at about 10 to 15, humidity is at 51%. Let's go through the overnight hours. We'll stop at 1 a.m. Light snow starting to pick up, especially along and north of Interstate 44. We'll see this batch kind of shift off toward the south and to the east. So here's 3:30 a.m. and then 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. on the Missouri side. And then I think most of this snow is going to be out of here by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be pretty light as it continues to work through. So not a huge deal, but we are going to get a little bit of light snow. And our temperatures are really going to struggle to warm up. You can see upper teens by the noon hour, and we only go into lower 20s during the afternoon. I would say 23 or 24 at best. 15 to start, 20 by noon, high temp at 24, plus there's going to be a north wind at about 10 to 15, so that makes it feel a little bit colder than what it actually is. Tomorrow night, we dip right back down into the mid-teens for overnight lows, and then we'll start to warm things up a little bit by the time we head into Friday as we get southerly winds back on board across the region. All right, snowfall amounts are going to be light, but I do think our northern counties, let's say Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, Stockton Lake, 1 to 2 inches of snow. Most of us are going to be about a dusting to half an inch, maybe some isolated inch amounts once you get into southwestern Missouri. Most of Oklahoma, let's say from Independence, Kansas down through Grand Lake, a dusting, maybe a half an inch at best. But again, because it's going to be so cold, whatever does fall will stick to the road. So even if it doesn't pile up, we're going to have a few slick spots. Also look at our wind chill factors by morning, 0 to -5 degrees. So bundle up, be careful on those roads as we will have a few slick spots. 24 tomorrow, 39 on Friday, rain chances, and back to 48 by Saturday.
Totally random, but go with me on this, all right? It's important to say thank you, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you, Doug, for doing weather, especially during this time. You know,
thank you for saying thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. You know, it's a down time right now, and so you can get frustrated over things. So it's important to say thank you. So if you know of an area of business that deserves some thank you and excels at what they do, consider nominating them for KOAM's 4 States Finest. There are several categories to choose from each week. One lucky viewer who nominates a business is going to win $100. The nomination period lasts through January. Then in February, you're going to be able to vote on the nominated organizations. Just head over to our website, koamnewsnow.com/finest. You can also scan the QR code that you see right there, and that will take you right to our website as well. All right, coming up, questions surrounding some winter chaos.
What could have been a winter wonderland turned into a nightmare. I'm Marianne Rafferty with a look at how conditions in Virginia are clearing up after a severe storm kept drivers stuck on a highway for hours.
After nearly a century at the top, General Motors no longer the leader in U.S. auto sales. Toyota has taken the top spot for the first time. The Japanese automaker yesterday reported U.S. sales 5% higher than GM. GM partly blamed manufacturing supply shortages for its decline, but Toyota also builds most of the vehicles it sells in the U.S. in America. Toyota says 70% of its vehicles sold in the country are built at 5 U.S. plants. Icy, snow-covered roads causing tractor-trailers crash along Interstate 95 in Virginia, causing miles of backed-up traffic and seemingly keeping drivers frozen in place for hours. Fox News correspondent Marianne Rafferty has more on the cleanup process and the response from government officials who say they did what they could during this crisis.
The chaos is over for hundreds of travelers. Sections of Interstate 95 running through northern Virginia opening back up Tuesday night after extreme winter weather caused massive accidents Monday, blocking up the highway in both directions for dozens of miles, forcing drivers to be stuck in gridlock for more than 18 hours.
We get onto 95 and within, I would say 15 minutes, we were in deadlock.
Fears really began sinking in as temperatures plummeted and drivers realized they were running low on gas, food, and water. But all the snow also caused mayhem on the tracks. Weather issues and downed trees forced this Amtrak train heading to New York City to come to a stop near Lynchburg, Virginia. Tensions rose as hundreds of people spent more than 30 hours on board with no power and dwindling resources.
There was a woman behind me with a young child who said that the child hadn't eaten since they got on the train at 1 a.m. And then we heard that the toilets were starting to not work on the train.
Government officials in Virginia, meanwhile, say they were prepared for what was supposed to be a few inches of snowfall. But the storm wound up dumping almost a foot in some areas. Because Monday's storm also started as rain, state officials say it prevented the highway from being treated with sand and salt. Virginia's governor, meantime, is defending his decision not to activate the state's National Guard, claiming plenty of crews were working to resolve the issues, but the snow was preventing a faster response. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
Next, several deaths after a fire.
A fire tears through a three-story row house, killing more than a dozen. I'm Caroline Shively in Philadelphia. I'll have more on this tragic story coming up.
Fire officials in California have determined what sparked last year's destructive Dixie wildfire. Cal Fire investigators say tree making contact with electrical distribution lines is what sparked the flames. The lines are owned and operated by Pacific Gas and Electric, also known as PG&E. Fire broke out on July 13th, 2021, burned more than 960,000 acres, more than 1,300 structures were destroyed, and 95 additional structures were damaged. Tragedy in Philadelphia, where a house fire claimed the lives of 13 people, including 7 children. Neighbors awakened from their sleep by loud calls for help. Investigation now underway to figure out what was the cause of this whole thing. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively reports from Philadelphia.
Philadelphia's mayor calling this one of the most tragic days in the city's history. Now investigators are trying to pinpoint what may have led to this tragedy. A chaotic scene unfolding in this Philadelphia neighborhood. Heavy flames consuming a 3-story home early Wednesday. Neighbors waking up to hear the cries for help.
I'm sure half the block woke up just from the screams alone, and then we came down and just saw the flames.
13 people did not survive, including 7 children. 2 more victims, including a child, were taken to the hospital. Friends and family members of the victims taking a moment to describe the pain they're feeling.
Hurt. The new year just came in, so we just all got rampant with this all at one time, so just hurt.
Firefighters at the scene say when they arrived, they found the fire coming from the 2nd floor of the row house leased out by the Philadelphia Housing Authority. At least 26 people were inside at the time. 8 people on the building's 1st floor unit did manage to make it out safely.
I've been around for 35 years now, and this is probably one of the worst fires I've ever been to. We plan on getting to making sure that this tremendous loss of life did not happen in vain.
Investigators say the home came equipped with 4 smoke detectors, but none appear to have been working. In Philadelphia, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
All right, coming up, going to check out the latest creation from the Girl Scout Cookie Kitchen. Doug, we're on live TV. Is it caramel or caramel?
I say caramel, but I think it's technically caramel.
I'll go with caramel, because that's how I say it too. Girl Scouts ready to roll out their cookie edition, the organization's new salted caramel brownie cookies are called Adventurefuls. They're going to be available starting next Tuesday. Girl Scouts describes a cookie as, quote, indulgent, brownie-inspired cookie with caramel-flavored cream and a hint of sea salt. And they look good. Customers can expect to see adventurefuls available nationally from January through April. The Girl Scouts website notes inventory and season start dates vary, though, among troops. All right, put your expert palate to the test and win ice cream for life. You could. Turkey Hill offering free ice cream for life to a flavor detective who has a scoop on what their super secret flavor is. Looks like caramel isn't the only word I have to worry about. Customers can pick up a container of the brand's first ever mystery flavor in stores and then put their taste buds to the test. All guesses can be sent in to Turkey Hill's website by scanning the QR code on the package. You see it right there. Ice cream lovers who guess right are going to have a taste for the grand prize and will be entered to win free frozen treats for life. The mystery flavor is going to be revealed, by the way, on March 14th. So if you're good at that sort of thing, guessing mystery flavors, there you go. I'm not. You know, I like enjoying stuff and not guessing what it is. 30 more minutes, news, weather, and sports coming away. Going to hear how a big retail store is taking care of people in need of food. Also, how some nonprofits are getting the resources they need to better serve communities.
We're here to help.
Walmart's playing an important role in feeding hungry people in the Lamar area who don't have enough money for grocery shopping. The retail giant donates produce to the Good Samaritan Food Pantry in Lamar, Missouri. And then produce is available to all Barton County residents.
Walmart's been doing this ever since I've been with the corporation. So it's been a long time. They call it the Feed America program. And they provide for a lot of people.
You can find the Good Samaritan Food Pantry at 1301 Perry in Lamar. Joplin Area Habitat for Humanity today held 2 home dedication ceremonies. These are the organization's 177th and 178th homes completed in the Joplin area. Today's homes went to the Curl family and Thurman family.
I would say that he's really excited and happy. We were actually over here a lot during Christmas break, and we played in the yard a lot, and he didn't ever want to leave. So I would think that he's super happy and really excited.
Habitat for Humanity plans to construct 8 to 10 new homes this year. Alliance of Southwest Missouri is connecting area nonprofits with the tools and people they need to serve the community. They've created a Facebook page called Community Resources for Nonprofit Professionals. It's a forum for nonprofits to view job listings, classes, funding opportunities, and much more.
A lot of those times are case managers, social workers, school counselors. So we're thinking, okay, well, this is a very niche group of people that we tend to work with. So, and a lot of that messaging comes through our Facebook, our Instagram, and the rest of our social media accounts. So that's why we thought if we have a Facebook group for it, they can communicate between themselves.
You can find a link to the resource page in this story on our website. That's KOMNewsNow.com. With the spread of COVID-19 remaining high, businesses worry they could be liable for staff and visitors who test positive. Fox Business Network's Madison Allworth has more from a restaurant in New York City.
Both the lack of liability protection as well as financial protection is making businesses worried as COVID-19 cases continue to soar. I'm at Babs, a restaurant in New York City that actually had to close down on the 17th when over 50% of the staff tested positive for COVID-19. Rather than force the other part of the staff to come in and be exposed to the virus, they decided to shut down for over 12 days during one of the busiest periods for restaurants. The owner tells me that both the financial protections and the missing liability protection is making him nervous about the future of his restaurant.
It's been so dead. I have barely seen more than 1 or 2 tables in any restaurant. I don't know what will happen, and it is really scary because it doesn't look like there's any government support in sight.
And he's not alone. A new report shows that class action settlements reached a high of over $3.6 billion in 2021, compared to over $1.5 billion in 2020 and over $1.3 billion the year before that, partially driven by lawsuits over return to work programs and vaccine mandates. Here at Babs, they are reopened for dinner, but they are still treading cautiously. Businesses across the U.S. are operating carefully, in some cases implementing even stricter COVID-19 policies to keep both staff and visitors safe and to avoid any potential lawsuits. In New York, I'm Madison Allworth, Fox Business.
A bit later, how one hospital is proactively trying to decrease the number of drug overdose deaths.
Well, it turned out to be a cold day. It's a cold night across the region. Guess what? It's going to get even colder as we go through the overnight hours. Winter weather advisory in effect. This is our northern counties: Yates Center, Iola, Fort Scott, Nevada, El Dorado Springs, Stockton Lake region. These areas are going to probably pick up 1 to 2 inches of snow, maybe even isolated 3 inches as it turns out across central Missouri. We're still going to get some snow from Pittsburgh, Lamar south. It's just going to be lighter the farther south and the farther west that you track as we go through the overnight hours into the morning hours tomorrow. Already we got some light little snow flurries popping up. A lot of this isn't reaching the ground, but we do have a few flurries which are flying out there from Stockton Lake, Nevada, just north of Pittsburgh, over toward Parsons, Fredonia, and Neodesha. But most of the snow, it's this band out across north central, northwestern Kansas. A lot of areas have picked up 3, 4, 5 inches of snow out to the west, and this band is going to drop south and east as we go through the overnight hours tonight. Other story, it's cold. We're sitting into low to mid 20s. We'll probably drop off another 10 degrees for us through the overnight hours tonight. So bundle up if you are going to be out tonight into tomorrow. 25 is where we stand. Humidity is at 51%. We're going to stay dry besides the flurries over the next several hours. But after midnight, we start to get these light snow showers pushing into the region. These are going to be fairly light. Here's 3:30 in the morning. May get a little heavier batch 4, 5, 6 a.m. You can see not too much gets into Oklahoma, but a little bit of light snow. And then all this snow will slowly start to work out 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock. We're still going to have some snow showers around 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. And then these will exit out of the region. However, temperatures struggle to warm up, only near 20 by noon. And I think most of us really don't get above 23 or 24 during the afternoon, which kind of stinks. 15 to start, 20 by noon, high temp at 24, plus the north winds at 10 to 15. So what that's going to do is give us wind chill factors, low ones, throughout the daytime hours. We go back into the teens tomorrow night. On Friday, we do start to get a southerly wind returning, and that will help our temperatures warm up at least a little bit by the time we head into Friday afternoon. All right, northern counties 1 to 2 inches. Most of us, say from Chanute, Pittsburgh to Joplin to Monette, a half an inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch, and then just a dusting once you get from Independence, Miami Grove, down toward Bentonville. But even a dusting on the roads with the temperature so cold could cause some slick spots. So be careful if you're going to be out late tonight into tomorrow, and bundle up. Look at our wind chills during the morning hours, 0 to -5 degrees. Sounds wonderful. A little bit of light snow late tonight into tomorrow morning. Again, most of us about a half an inch. 24 tomorrow, back to 39 on Friday, 48 on Saturday. Some showers rolling in during the afternoon hours.
You know, it's so much harder to get going in the mornings when it's so cold.
Yeah, I don't really mind the cold. It's the wind when it's cold.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Doug. Thanks so much. Coming up in sports, pair of Pittsburgh High School seniors signing to continue their football careers at the next level. Also, the Pitt State men get one of their best players back for the final 2 months of the season. Jacob Leonard has that and more next.
This week is rivalry week for Pitt State and Missouri Southern basketball. Two teams meet on Saturday in Joplin in their first of 2 scheduled meetings. On the men's side, there's some good news for Pittsburgh State heading into the last 2 months of the season. Finally getting healthy. Bobby Arthur Williams returned to the floor last week for the first time this season for the Gorillas. Arthur Williams was Pitt State's leading scorer last year. Now, in his first game back, he came out hot, posting 24 points and 10 rebounds against Missouri Western. Now, he's hoping to provide a spark for PSU in their final 14 games so they can put themselves in a good position for the postseason conference tournament.
We want to win as much games as we can as possible, and to try and push ourselves into that 3 or 4 seed in the MIAA. We think we can do that. We think we have the pieces to do it, and it's just up to us. It just felt good to be out there with my teammates in general first. Running 4 months off is hard work, but it felt good to get my legs loose and get in there.
Pitt State will travel to Missouri Southern on Saturday. The women's game begins at 1:30 with the men's game scheduled for 3:30. A pair of Pittsburgh High School seniors signed today to continue their football careers in college, and they're going to stay on the same team. Rob Hollis and Caden Barber signed this afternoon to play at Coffeyville Community College next season. Now, Hollis did a little bit of everything for Pittsburgh this year. Rushed for about 200 yards and 3 scores, playing fullback and tight end. Also had 16 tackles and a forced fumble at defensive tackle. Now, as for Barber, kid's a crazy athlete. He'll play running back at Coffeyville. Now, he did miss his senior year due to injury, so he's ready for the opportunity to get back out there and prove himself at the next level.
I chose Coffeyville because they gave me an opportunity to play. They did not play my senior year, so I lost a lot of the looks I had, and I felt as if they were a good fit for me, so I decided to go there. It really just means I have to improve myself and just show them what I'm made of, and just show the schools that decided not to offer me and prove them wrong.
Coming from Webb City, where I was playing only tight end, as in Pittsburgh, where I was playing everywhere, it added a lot of confidence in me as a player, where I was doing things that I didn't even know I could do. So that opened up a lot of doors, and I feel like, especially going into the next level, I'll have a lot more confidence just being able to keep up with guys that are bigger and faster.
The Kansas State Wildcats finished up the football season last night, topping LSU in the Texas Bowl 42-20. Malik Knowles got the Wildcats off to a hot start with 2 receiving touchdowns in the first half. But it was running back Deuce Vaughn closing this thing out. Vaughn scored 3 touchdowns in the second half alone, finished with 4 total touchdowns in the game, setting a new K-State Bowl record.
He's the best player in college football, in my opinion, and he's, for a reason, a consensus first-team All-American. And he's the most humble kid that I've been around, but he's a workhorse, and our players love him, and he loves K-State, and he's big time. And I love the kid, and I love his heart and his resolve, and the fact that he wants the football.
That's a look at sports. We're back with more news after this.
Pfizer and BioNTech are going to collaborate on developing a shingles vaccine. The company said today they will develop an mRNA-based vaccine for the viral infection, using the same technology they used to develop their highly successful COVID-19 vaccine. mRNA vaccines prompt the human body to make a protein that is part of the pathogen, which triggers an immune response. Pfizer and BioNTech expect to begin clinical trials later this year. If it is successful, the vaccine would compete with GlaxoSmithKline's 2-dose Shingrix vaccine, which was approved by the Food and Drug Administration back in 2017. Drug overdoses hit a record high in 2021, killing more than 100,000 Americans. And there is a life-saving medication which can reverse overdoses. Fox News multimedia reporter Rebecca Castor reports from New Orleans, where health officials there are working to get this drug out into the community for free.
In Louisiana alone, overdose deaths have doubled in the last 2 years. New Year's Eve weekend was another busy time for overdose calls, a big indicator that more needs to be done in this new year to address the opioid epidemic.
This drug is not new. Discovering ways to effectively get it in the hands of patients and their loved ones is new.
Without a prescription, the overdose reversal drug naloxone, commonly known as Narcan, can cost over $100 at the pharmacy. But this hospital in New Orleans is giving out the life-saving treatment for free.
The hope is that people actually use this, and it saves lives. It prevents this whole, my loved one, I found them collapsed, I have to call 911. It will be anywhere between 3 at the earliest to as long as 10 or more minutes before someone can get there and administer this life-saving drug.
All patients who come to University Medical Center with opioids in their system will be given an overdose rescue pack when they're discharged.
Simply is placed inside the nose and squirted.
Family members of those with addiction can also pick up a kit at their local fire station.
We always want people to obviously work towards not using drugs, especially these that are so dangerous. But in the meantime, we want to keep people alive. No matter how many times we have to use a life-saving overdose reversal drug for a person to bring them back to the world with us, we have to be grateful that it was there to give them one more chance to recognize that recovery is possible.
Dr. Joyce Bracey is the CEO of an addiction prevention and recovery center in New Orleans. She's seen the number of people seeking treatment spike in the last year. She believes the rescue kits will let families feel less helpless when facing their loved one's addiction.
Having it in your home is not dangerous. If you keep it in a safe place and have it ready, it'll just give you more confidence.
Now, the hospital is able to do this thanks to a charitable donation, but health officials hope that soon more initiatives, possibly from the federal government, will soon be available to make Narcan more accessible to all Americans. In New Orleans, Louisiana, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
Next, going to check out a new dark comedy produced by Kristen Bell. Hollywood Nation coming your way. New series first looks and the latest show cancellations announced are all in tonight's Hollywood Nation. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
Someone has been murdered. Belle moves in, so do Mary and Gary, and late night cancels in the Hollywood Nation. There's news of another show cancellation due to COVID-19. Late Night with Seth Meyers will be dark for the week. The host shares he's tested positive, though says he feels fine, thanking the vaccine and booster. This follows other stars testing positive, leading to cancellations or postponements, including Hugh Jackman in the Broadway revival of The Music Man and LL Cool J, who canceled his New Year's Eve performance.
It is my job to help keep you safe.
Maybe you should help yourself. In new series streaming, meet Mary and Gary of Wolf Like Me, aka Isla Fisher and Josh Gad. Peacock released a trailer for the show, which kicks off January 13th. It follows a couple in a new relationship, each bringing secrets from the past and brought together for a reason. Well, if they won't be the detectives, then I will. And a murder mystery where the mystery is, was there a murder? Netflix shares a look at the woman in the house across the street from the girl in the window. The dark comedy is executive produced by Kristen Bell, who stars as a heartbroken woman who sits with her wine peering out the window, including at her new neighbors, when she thinks she sees said crime and takes it upon herself to investigate. This series premieres January 28th. I know what I saw. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. Going to leave you with a video of a wombat at the Prague Zoo. I'm just looking at this because I don't think I've ever seen a wombat before. I probably have, but you know. All right, be safe. Do this all again tomorrow. See you then.